we are introduced to Zeon. He was born in a small remote village. It was a poor village, but everyone was happy. Ever since he was a child, he has always wanted to become an adventurer. Therefore, he left his village in order to pursue his dream. However, because of his terrible communication skills, he was not able to form a party. He was forced to do every request all by himself. However, in the end, Zeon did more than he could actually do. He thought that he could do anything after getting promoted to a B-rank adventurer. He decided to go into a high-level dungeon all by himself, but soon regretted doing so. He ended up in a deplorable state after receiving a demon's attacks. He lost so much blood that he could not even feel the pain anymore. He thinks that it is the end of his life. Zeon finds it a very unsatisfying life and wishes to put more effort into communicating with people if he ever gets reincarnated. Suddenly, Zeon feels an earthquake. The dungeon starts falling apart. Zeon could not do anything but lay in there even though he wished not to die in a place like that. The earthquake was in reality a result of the clash between the Flame Dragon Emperor and the Ice Dragon Emperor. Their battle was taking place right above Barbaka, the second largest city of the Amarina Empire, causing its annihilation. The power unleashed was so great that the entire area got wiped out and the Ice Dragon was burnt into ashes. However, the Flame Dragon Emperor was also on the verge of death even though it won against the Ice Dragon Emperor. It heavily fell down after losing all its power. All this happened right above a cave where a certain adventurer had previously died. After a while, in the caves, Zeon wakes up in complete astonishment. He was sure that dying was the end for him. Zeon is quite confused about what he was doing at that time. He finds himself fully conscious and his boy looks fine even though he was positive that he died there. He remembers that he was desperately trying to survive and he ended up getting buried alive. Zeon cannot help but wonder how he is able to move perfectly even when he is supposed to be dead. Zeon looks around and sees a dead monster snake. He finds it even more dangerous than a disaster-class monster. He sees that the head of the giant snake is entirely smashed and wonders if there is something in the world that is able to beat up such a giant snake that badly. At the same time, Zeon notices that he sounds like a zombie. Zeon thinks that maybe his vocal cords got a bit rusty because it has been a very long time since he had talked. Now Zeon wonders how long has it actually been. He looks around and realizes that he had died next to a hole. He recalls that he had heard that humans who die in that dungeon turn into undead and start wandering. Therefore, he wonders if that is what happened to him too. Zeon's memories are so hazy that he wonders if he was the one who beat up that giant snake, and right after that, he felt great power flowing through his body. Zeon then wonders why he regained his free will even though he should have become an undead because as of his knowledge, undead are not able to think by themselves or regain their intellect, and wonders if he is brought back to life. In that case, Zeon wishes to die soon. While wandering around, Zeon says that he is feeling tired even though he does not really feel fatigued and his memories are fully in order. He feels like his soul remembered everything and that is why he wants to achieve eternal peace as soon as possible. Suddenly, a wild disaster-class demon armored grizzly appears in front of Zeon. Zeon acknowledges that he can really die this time with the armored grizzly's sharp claws and colossal strength. Zeon wonders if the armored grizzly is wary because he has not been attacking or even coming closer to Zeon at all. At last, the armored grizzly attacks Zeon. However, to their surprise, Zeon suffers much less damage than he had expected while the armored grizzly roars while in pain. Zeon is unable to comprehend what is happening as he sees the disaster-class monster run away. Zeon is confused about what is going on as he tanked the attack of a disaster-class monster, yet he is unscratched while the monster got his hand crushed. After that, Zeon met a few more demons along the way. All of them were disaster-class demons. However, all of the demons that he met failed to kill him. He ends up finding the exit after encountering many monsters on his way. Surprisingly, all of them could not put even a scratch on him. After Zeon finally makes it out of the cave, he realizes that after spending all that time inside the dark cave, he is a bit happy to be able to see the sunlight again and thinks that he would have jumped in pure joy if he was still alive. Suddenly, Zeon remembers that the undead turns into ashes when they are exposed to the sunlight and decides to not step out. However, he then remembers that he wants to die and that is the outcome that he was hoping for. Therefore, Zeon then decides to step out in the sunlight. To his astonishment, Zeon finds himself completely fine while standing right under the blazing sun, in a place where there is not even a single sprout growing. Zeon recalls that the place was never like this as he is pretty sure that there was a forest surrounding the dungeon. Zeon turns around and sees a huge dragon head above the cave's exit. Zeon finds the day full of surprises. Zeon thinks that even his new body would not be able to withstand if he was ever trampled by such a huge dragon. Zeon is quite confused about what actually happened to him. The land and the dungeon entrance that he knew, which is now replaced by the giant head, Zeon realizes that it is getting down and then moments later, it starts raining. He quickly runs into the dungeon's entrance to take cover from the rain. He is sure that it is raining a lot as it already formed big puddles. Zeon looks inside one of the puddles and he is surprised to see that he still looks like a human with snow white hair and blood red eyes. His hair used to be black and his eyes were never red. Zeon wonders if anyone will realize that he is an undead if he goes to a city as he still looks like a human being. Suddenly, it starts hailing mixed with snow and then even the puddles get frozen. Several weather changes occurred after that as it started pouring again, and with the last drops of rain came lightning. After that, several tornadoes turned the wasteland upside down. Then the sunny weather came back followed by a heat wave. Zeon then understands that even weed would not be able to grow in a place like that. At last, Zeon leaves the place while it is still sunny. He thinks that there should be a city close by and Balkaba is a big city so he should be able to get some information by going there. He wanted to know how much time had passed while he was stuck in that dungeon. On his way, Zeon thinks that it must have been more than just a year or two because according to him, there is no way things could have changed this much and the thought that the entire forest could disappear one day never even came to his mind. Zeon wonders if the entire humanity was extinct but then he thinks that there is no way that would happen and decides to get to the city quickly. As he moves forward, he sees grass. As he sees a flower and touches it, he gets a glimpse of hope. As he looks ahead, he sees some bricks lying on the floor. When he lifts up his head, he is left shocked. He could not understand how could Balkaba, a prosperous and the second largest city of the empire, just turned into ruins. While looking around, Zeon wonders how could Balkaba turn into ruins when it could even withstand the attack of a dragon in such a state as it is said to be so well protected. Seeing the second largest city in such a condition, Zeon loses his hope of finding even a single person there. He just could not understand how all this happened and wondered if humans really went extinct. Suddenly, Zeon hears someone's voice. He runs in the direction from where the voice came. It was his first time hearing the voice of a human ever since he woke up in that awful cave. As he reaches there, he sees some humans fighting a big boar demon. Suddenly, the big boar demon sees Zeon standing at a distance and runs away quickly. The humans stay on their guard against Zeon. Zeon is finally able to meet people so he decides to talk with them. He plans to say hello, be friendly and show them that he is not an enemy. As he spoke, his voice was surprisingly quiet and weak. The other humans could not hear him clearly and wondered what Zeon was trying to say. One of the humans comprehends it as if Zeon said that he wishes to exterminate them painfully. The priest amongst the humans says that Zeon is an undead and probably a high-ranked one at that and they cannot expect one to be merciful. Another one of the humans wonders why is the priest familiar with the undead class. Zeon tries to talk with them once again. He puts an awful smile as well on his face as to look friendly. He hadn't smiled in a while but he is confident that it worked and is sure that they will understand that he is not a threat. However, the humans get offended by that and prepare to attack him. One of the humans asks Guy to activate his purification technique while they keep him in check as long as they can. Zeon has given his best in trying to communicate with them but he failed miserably and perhaps he is sure that he can die from their attack. However, to their surprise, his axe made of mithril alloy broke. Another one of the humans tries to sneak attack Zeon in his eyes as he believes that the eyes are everyone's weak spot and he won't be unscathed. However, his weapon could not even reach Zeon's eyes so he gets back instantly while trying to comprehend what just happened. The priest then asks both of them to step back as he is sure that his sacred magic would kill even the highest ranked undead. A huge beam falls upon Zeon as the priest performs the supernatural pillar magic attack. However, to everyone's surprise, Zeon stood throughout the attack unscratched. Zeon just cluelessly wonders what he should do to tell them that he is not mad at them for attacking him. But in their point of view, Zeon was just standing there menacingly. The priest thinks that it is the end as the sacred magic did not work on him. The other guy decides to make a risky bet. He decides to use a spell that summons a high-ranked demon. The only setback is that the said demon cannot be controlled and there is always a chance that it will attack them instead. Looking at the situation, he just decides to use it. He throws the spell at Zeon and they all run as a high-ranked demon gets summoned in front of Zeon. While running away, the girl asks Alec what is wrong with him for setting free such a dangerous thing. Alec apologizes to her and says that he has realized how careless that was but they were about to get annihilated. It appears to him that they got lucky as the demon went straight for the undead. They had obtained that crystal after clearing a high-ranked dungeon so Alec is sure that even if the undead is strong, it won't be able to defend the demon. As he turns around to look at what is happening, Zeon punches the high-ranked demon in its stomach. Alec calls Zeon a bit too overpowered. What he didn't know was that a very long time ago, two dragons collided over the Marina Empire. The Ice Dragon Emperor was burnt down to ashes, while the Flame Dragon Emperor became the pinnacle of all living things. However, the victorious, yet heavily injured Flame Dragon Emperor collapsed into the entrance of the dungeon shortly after its triumph. All the living things inside the dungeon were bathed in the tremendous magical power emanating from the greatest and strongest being that had ever lived. This allowed them to absorb its power and transcend themselves. This caused the birth of an undead who started wandering inside the cave while hunting demons, and the undead eventually evolved. As he defeats the high-ranked demon in just one punch, he says that he wants to die, but the rumor is that if you die at the hands of a demon then you will become their subordinate, and Zeon definitely didn't want that to happen to him. In the end, Zeon became the strongest undead. While exploring the caves, some humans find someone lying on the ground. One of them decides to help him out quickly, but his comrade stops him as she tells him that the corruption defiled his body, and she thinks that there is nothing that they can do to save him because he is already nothing more than a corpse. The only thing they can do for him now is cleanse his body so that he does not become undead, as he is close to becoming one. Suddenly, an earthquake occurs and they decide to get out of the cave quickly. After many relentless years, Zeon was the one who awoke as the strongest undead. In a different city, Alec rushes into the hall and calls out for the guildmaster. Alec enters the meeting room while calling out for the guildmaster and sees a meeting ongoing. Alec's comrade wonders why are all the adventurers there. All of them were rank B or above. Alec asks the guildmaster if he is planning to start a war or something. The guildmaster is happy to see Alec and calls it very good timing. The guildmaster tells Alec that he has summoned all the available adventurers of rank B or higher as there is an urgent matter. He proceeds to tell that the disaster-class monster, Terrask Lord, has emerged from the demon's den and their city happens to be on its path. There happens to be many other bigger cities on its route that may be destroyed. A Terrask, while it may look like a turtle at first glance, is in fact a subspecies of the dragon. Despite its slowness, the monster has a near-perfect defense thanks to its extremely hard shell. Having the power of a Terrask Lord makes it easy to crush and destroy entire cities. Any rampart would just be pulverized no matter how thick or tall it is. It is considered a true disaster-class demon. On the other hand, while Zeon still wanders around, looking for a way to a city, he wonders what went wrong while he was trying to communicate with the human beings that he met before. He thinks that maybe they reacted in such a way because of his clothes. Zeon finds their reaction a bit too extreme even if he looks like an exhibitionist. No matter how Zeon looks at it, he knows that they tried to kill him. Zeon wonders if maybe they were as good as he was when he was a human. While trying to comprehend all this, Zeon thinks about even the monsters running away when they see him as if he was leaking some kind of dangerous aura. Within moments, Zeon realizes that it is because he is also a monster now. Zeon tries to check if he has been leaking magical power this whole time. He is then surprised to see that the magical power is flowing throughout his body. Zeon finds his magical power so dense that it can be seen clearly. He thinks maybe he did not notice it because he was in this state ever since he woke up in that dungeon, so it became normal for him. He then decides to try to suppress it to its minimum. While moving forward, Zeon sees a huge turtle at a distance. When he goes near it, he realizes that it is a Terrask Lord and it is way too huge. Back in the city, Estina says that she really does not know what is the deal with the undead, but she is a rank adventurer and they should not think of her as at the same level. Estina tries to provoke them by wondering what the guildmaster was thinking when he asked Alec and his comrades to help with the Terrask Lord when they could not even defeat an undead. Moreover, she assures them that there will be no issues as she is there. Alec knows that the A-rank adventurers are so powerful that B-rank adventurers like him cannot compare themselves with them. Still, Alec feels a bit pissed off. Little later, someone calls out for Lady Estina and shows her a weird white-haired guy walking towards them. Alec looks at him and realizes that it is the undead that they were talking about and they could not even scratch his skin. On the other hand, as Zeon sees some people there, he decides to talk with them and warn them about the Terrask Lord that he saw. However, he is suddenly hit by a whip and he falls down. It is Lady Estina. She is disappointed to see the undead that Alec and his comrades were talking about and says that they really do not deserve the B rank for losing to such a weakling. Zeon gets up as if he is feeling pain even though he cannot feel pain. He just wonders why is he getting attacked like that. Estina is surprised to see how the undead is still standing even though she got his leg for sure. Alec wonders if even Estina's attacks are unless on the undead as he understood that this undead is really a monster of another level. Estina asks him if he is underestimating him a bit. She swings her whip around and hits Zeon with her dragonic burst attack. However, Zeon easily grabs her whip with just one hand. Estina is in shock. As Zeon lets go of her whip, she wonders how he is still smiling after taking the full brunt of her attack. Others could not comprehend how Lady Estina's attack did not work at all even though she is an A-rank adventurer. They could not stop wondering what they are going to do with the Terrask approaching at the same time. Alec realizes that Estina is at a complete loss. Her whip is powerful and accurate enough to behead any monster instantly. She may have underestimated the undead at first, but her last attack was at maximum power and it still did not work at all. Moreover, he even keeps approaching while taking the strike. Alec realizes that at this rate, their plan to stop the Terrask Lord will fail. As Alec's comrade realizes the same, he dashes towards Zeon and uses explosive palm on him to throw him far away. Zeon went away flying and fell right in between the Terrask Lord's teeth. Bard then orders everyone to change the Terrask Lord's path instead of trying to defeat it. Alex says to Bard that if they just attack like they normally do, then it will not have any effect. Bard in his reply says that the Tarrasque Lord has indeed an invincible shell and a very tough skin, but they should be able to at least change its course if they combine all of their attacks and get onto its nerves. Alec considers it as a good idea, as if they can make the Tarrasque Lord go back to the demon's den, then they will get rid of that undead too. As they all approach the Tarrasque Lord, they find it getting irritated. All of them attack the Tarrasque Lord at the same time. Some of them think that they are really hurting it with the help of Lady Estina and Sir Bard. However, Alex says that they are wrong about it, because no matter how powerful both of their attacks are, the Tarrasque Lord's defense is flawless and it is not suffering any damage. No matter if it gets attacked from the inside or the outside, it literally has no weak spot. Suddenly, something seems to be weird. The Tarrasque Lord stops moving and suddenly, its shell starts cracking. Zeon comes out of the crack and remembers that he needs to smile to look friendly. However, to them, he looks dangerous, even though he says that he is not an enemy and they do not need to be afraid. At a different place, someone is informed about someone's whereabouts. The informer believes that they can trust the information they got from their surveillance unit. She gets serious by thinking that they have finally found the most disastrous and the strongest necromancer. After killing the Tarrasque Lord, Zeon decides to just leave for the city, as all the adventurers are too scared to talk to him. At night, Zeon tries to lurk around the walls. He feels a sense of relief now that he has finally found the city, but he cannot go through the main entrance while wearing rags. Therefore, he decides to climb up the wall to enter the city. He first decides to find a clothing store. As he gets into a clothing store and dresses himself nicely, he decides to leave the skin of the monster that he had defeated while on his way there, even though he is not sure if that will be somehow enough, as he does not have any money. When Zeon comes out of the clothing store, he starts to feel something. He feels like something nostalgic is attracting him at the end of the alley. He finds the feeling getting stronger in a house, so he decides to enter it. Even though he knows that it is trespassing, he really wants to get to the bottom of the feeling that he has. Zeon could not feel any living presence in there, so he decided to keep going. On his way inside the house, Zeon realizes that the floor is weird in between. He finds out that there is a basement underneath. As he goes down, he feels like the feeling is linked to the basement. As he reaches the bottom, he is shocked to see a lot of dead bodies piled up. Suddenly, someone enters from behind and asks Zeon who he is. Zeon turns around slowly and thinks that even though he looks so slender, the pressure emanating from him is quite dense. Moreover, he realizes that he cannot feel any liveliness from him and wonders if he is an undead too. Zeon then realizes that that feeling was not just a nostalgic emotion. He was just attracted to him because they both are of the same kind. The other guy also realizes that Zeon is an undead like him. Zeon asks him what he is planning to do with the woman that he is carrying, as he wonders if he is the one behind that mountain of dead bodies too. The guy tells Zeon that he is just going to make her suffer as much as possible and then kill her. When Zeon asks him why he would do something like that, the guy tells Zeon that it is his lord's command and he does not need any other reason to do so. Zeon wonders who is this guy talking about. He then continues to tell Zeon that he is making a corpse worthy of being an offering to his king, Lord Chris Diego. When Zeon asks him who is Chris Diego, he is surprised to see that he does not know about the Lord, even though he is an undead too. The guy then tells Zeon that his Lord is the king of the dead, but then he rephrases himself and says that he is the one to become the king of the world and he was brought back from death by his very own hands. Zeon simply calls him a necromancer. The other guy just lets Zeon say whatever he wants and says that he will come to know about his greatness soon enough. As he puts the woman on the table and proceeds to pick up some tools, Zeon stands in front of the woman to protect her, as he will not allow him to torture that person to death while he is standing there. When the other guy is surprised to see that Zeon is getting in his way even though he is an undead too, Zeon tells him that just because he is an undead, he must not be lumped in with their kind and murder is bad in the first place. Seeing an undead talk about the weight of life, he finds it nonsense and decides to show no mercy on those who get in his way. He then suddenly dashes towards Zeon and attacks him with his shukuchi slash. However, to his surprise, Zeon remains unscathed while his katana breaks down. On the other hand, Zeon is just surprised and wonders if he teleported, as he could not even see him move. Moments later, the woman wakes up and wonders where she is. The guy then tells her that he will make her go through hell by torturing her, letting her agonize slowly and making her suffer to her heart's content. The woman gets terrified to hear that. Zeon asks her to get away from there quickly. As she proceeds to run away, the guy decides to chase and catch her. However, he is stopped by Zeon. Zeon kicks and bursts open his stomach as he crashes into the wall behind him. While wondering if he managed to beat him, Zeon sees that he can regenerate as well. The guy tells him that a servant of Lord Chris cannot possibly die from something like that, as his body is special. His regenerative ability is beyond anything he can possibly imagine and asks Zeon to not underestimate it. He calls it proof of his lord's greatness, as he will definitely be resurrected even if his head is crushed or most of his body gets destroyed. As he praises his lord for his greatness, He calls his body immortal as he can regenerate even if most of his body is destroyed. Zeon could not stop wondering why would he be so happy if he is unable to die, as his body is so fragile that a single kick made his guts fly out. Zeon decides to do some tests on his, as if he keeps getting revived no matter what his body's condition is, then it will be very difficult for him, Zeon, to find a way as a person who doesn't even take any damage. Zeon releases his fireball attack on him. He himself was surprised to see such a powerful attack launched by him. As Zeon tries to apologize for mistakenly launching such a powerful fireball, he laughs at Zeon's agitation. As he proceeds to say that he will always regenerate regardless of how powerful the flames are, he burns down into ashes. Zeon then just wonders if he can really revive after being burnt down into ashes. Zeon hadn't realized until now that his magic had gotten extremely powerful, as he just wanted to burn him a little for the sake of knowledge, but he is a pile of dust now. At the same time, while Lord Chris is enjoying his precious view of dead bodies with different negative emotions, he realizes that Sue's spirit is gone. He bursts out in anger and cries as he wonders what has happened to him. After getting out of the city, Zeon decides to get out of there quickly as the girl has seen his face. While running away, Zeon bumps into the rail tracks and falls down. Not knowing what a train and train tracks are, Zeon just wonders what it is. Suddenly, he starts panicking as he sees something approaching him. Inside the train is the girl from earlier who says that she would have been satisfied traveling in second class, but because of Boromir's extra care, she is having to travel in first class. The magic locomotive is a transportation facility that enables long-distance traveling in a short period of time with the help of magic stones. When one of the workers was looking out of the train, another one comes and asks him what he is doing while staring outside instead of shoveling the stones. He also asks him if he got a heat stroke. The first worker himself was in confusion as he saw a guy running next to the train at the same speed. Moments later, both of them are shocked to see Zeon running next to the train at the same speed. Little later, the conductor sees the both of them and asks what they are doing. They decide to shovel more stones to create distance from him. One of them recalls Zeon as a ghost with red eyes and white hair like he saw in the morning newspaper. Zeon realizes that it is going faster now. Seeing that the people inside don't seem to be trapped, he concludes that it must be a means of transportation from one city to another. Zeon then decides to try getting inside it. Zeon hops onto the train and decides to take a look inside. However, unknowingly, he peeks into a bathroom where the girl is taking a bath while she is all naked. Zeon notices the foam and the steaming water and concludes that she must be washing her body. As soon as he goes back to the top, she feels like she saw something. It was a close call for Zeon, and he decides to stay at the top until they get to a city. While putting her clothes back on, she says that she didn't think that first class would be that fancy as it even has a shower room. She then decides to thank Boromir after getting changed. Now that she is well rested and clean, she prepares to do her best to catch the necromancer. Suddenly, she hears someone scream. As she comes out, she sees that some people are robbing a man, so she asks them to stop it at once. Seeing that it's just a woman, they take her lightly. When she asks them what they are doing, as they didn't look like the type to be first-class customers, one of them replies that they just had some business there, and he then asks her if she is also a first-class customer, because then she would be an important person too. She wonders if he is really letting his guard down because she is a woman. He comes near her and says that a girl should not be in a place like that with a spear. In a moment, she attacks him and he falls down. His comrades realize that she can fight and decide to take the man as hostile. Not caring about being a coward, they take him as hostile and ask her to put her spear down. With no other option left, she had to put her spear down. Seeing how good her body is, one of them decides to harass her until the next stop arrives. Suddenly, someone punches the door and breaks in. Zeon breaks into the cabin by breaking the door with his punch. The bandit asks Zeon who he is and how did he break that door even though it was reinforced. The woman just wonders if he is not one of their friends. Zeon quickly dashes towards them and defeats them instantly. She is surprised to see how strong he is. Zeon, on the other hand, is wondering what to do now that he ended up getting in without thinking. As the woman appreciates Zeon for his help and thanks him, Zeon recalls that is the girl that he saw naked earlier. The woman introduces herself as Rimir and asks Zeon for his name. However, Zeon tries to escape her. He cannot even talk properly to a girl because of his anxiety and also because he saw her completely naked. Rimir tries to chase him, but he was already gone. She then decides to report the situation to the whole team for the time being. Later on, Rimir meets Boromir. She is surprised to hear about a disaster-class undead that had appeared next to the city of Kostar in the Romana Kingdom, which is situated near the great wilderness of Emarina. Rimir thinks that the Kostar is in the opposite direction of where they are heading. She then asks Boromir as it is a new underling of his but a disaster class. Boromir suggests her not to ignore that possibility, although she does think that something fishy is going on. Moreover, she tells Rimir that it is when that undead entered Coastal City that the adventurers who were on a mission there stopped it, but it seems that they couldn't do anything against him. Rimmer is surprised to hear that, as she believes that there were at last a few adventurers above B rank sent there. Rimmer is unsure whether he is really a disaster class or not, but what she finds more unusual is that he just entered the city through the main gate without any care in the world. As the necromancer is a very cautious man, Rimmer believes that he would never make his underlings act like that openly. They are kind of sure that the necromancer will not act that openly just because he has gotten a strong underlying. They know that he would usually leave his strongest tool as a secret weapon or a last resort. Furthermore, Borumi says that the undead left the city right after getting in and did not harm anyone. Rimmer is surprised to hear that he did not even harm anyone, which is an unusual behavior. Rimmer begins to doubt whether he has anything to do with Chris Diego. As So continues to check the report once again, she is shocked to read about the disaster class undead having red eyes and white hair because she recognizes him from their recent encounter. In a different city, Zeon is amazed to see so many lights in the middle of the night for the first time. He is amazed to see how much the world has developed. He is sure about finding a way to die there, but he is riddled by the thought of how he can even find such a way. Zeon then gets the idea of asking the necromancer for one such way, but then he remembers that he had killed that long-hair undead, otherwise he could have asked him where to find his Lord Chris. Suddenly, Zeon feels the presence of another undead. He is desperate to know from the undead where the necromancer is. He then runs in the direction where he is feeling the undead's presence. He feels the presence of undead in a mansion, but doubts it if he will find an undead in such a huge mansion. As he looks inside, he is shocked to see a fat lady trying to act cute in front of many people. As the fat lady tries to act cute in front of her darlings, Zeon just sneaks behind the window and wonders what that gross thing is over there. The lady somehow finds out that someone is stalking her from behind the window and asks him to show himself, as there is no point in hiding. As Zeon reveals himself, the lady compliments him as a very handsome boy. Zeon feels like puking after hearing that. The lady does not like that behavior of Zeon and talks badly about him. Within moments, she tries to maintain her composure once again by saying that she is a maiden in pursuit of beauty and she should not forget to grace no matter what. With that being said, she decides to punish Zeon for humiliating a pure maiden like her. Little later, she realizes that he is an undead and wonders if he is a new subordinate of Lord Chris. She then says that she cannot add him to her darlings collection because of that. Understanding what she means, Zeon concludes that he has come to the right place. When Zeon tells her that he does not have any connection with him, the lady proceeds to approach him, saying that she can get him to be her darling then. As she tells Zeon that any boy she receives her love kills becomes one of her darlings, Zeon kicks her in her face. As the blood spills from her mouth, she asks him who he is as she regenerates her mouth. Zeon had already expected that she must be having super regeneration ability as well. The lady proceeds to attack Zeon once again. Zeon tries to run away, but he feels like his body suddenly got very heavy. Soon he realizes that his boots are stuck with the floor. She tries to tease Zeon as she says that he has already been captured. However, Zeon manages to get his boots off the floor. He then launches his fireball attack, but then remembers that he cannot kill her yet. He just happened to attack her without thinking just because of how gross she is. The lady tries to dodge it. Zeon feels a sense of relief to see that she is not dead yet. The lady starts panicking as she realizes that her hand is not healing. As she bursts out in rage asking him to give her back her skin, she attacks Zeon with her love lover beam attack. Zeon gets thrown far away and he crashes into the wall behind him. She says that no human survived her love lover beam ever. Zeon simply gets back up and says that there is no problem since he is not a human anymore. The lady is shocked to see that her best technique did not work at all. Zeon tells her that he knows that she is kind of mad and he is sorry about that, but he has a quick question. Zeon then proceeds to ask her where he can find the Chris that she mentioned earlier. The lady wonders if he is going after Lord Chris and asks him if he is with the Holy Knights. Zeon, on the other hand, does not know anything about the Holy Knights. She then realizes that he must be the one who killed Sue. Zeon wonders if she is talking about the long-haired samurai dude. The lady then realizes that if she gets hit by those flames, then it will happen the same to her too. She then starts begging Zeon to spare her life. In return, Zeon just asks her to answer her question and tell him where is her Lord Chris. In her response, she says that she wants to keep being pure and pretty forever and she does not want to die burnt down to ashes. She then tries to offer Zeon her body in exchange for sparing her life. Zeon does not care about her body and wants her to just answer his question. She then tells him that she has no idea where her Lord Chris is at that time and starts to beg for her life once again. Zeon wonders what she even means by her life as she is already dead and he believes that dead people should quietly go to the other world. He then burns her with the entire mansion. Now that he has made a mess of that place, he decides to get out of there quickly and get those people out as well. In Sardor City, Rimir just keeps on wondering who is that white-haired man. Borumi asks Rimuru if she is talking about the disaster class undead that she saw on the train. Rimuru then proceeds to say that they cannot be certain that it was him just because he fits the description of the undead in that newspaper. She believes that white hair and red eyes can still be just a coincidence. Whether he is the disaster class undead or just one of Chris' underlings, they cannot assume anything yet. She then wonders what is actually happening outside. Borumi says that it seems to be a fire. Rimuru says that the wind is strong as well, so there might be a lot of casualties. As they reach there, they see that a very large mansion is on fire. The garden is also huge, so it seems like the fire will not be able to spread. Rimuru feels relieved to see that the people have already evacuated. She then wonders why there are only young men. She approaches the doctor over there and asks him if she can also use healing magic to help. The doctor then tells her that their injuries are light but they lack manpower, so that would help them a lot. As she heals the injuries, she asks one of the men if they are the mansion's servants. He then tells her that they were held captive by a horrifying undead. Rimuru is surprised to hear that and asks him to tell her more. The man then proceeds to tell her that they had been held captive for a very long time by some fat gross undead who called itself a maiden. He wanted to escape, but he was trapped inside his own body. As he speaks further, he starts to panic, so Rimuru asks him to calm down as they won't hurt him anymore. Rimuru concludes that he must be talking about Brodia, who is one of Chris' underlings. She then proceeds to ask him why the mansion is burning. He tells her that another undead saved them all. Rimuru asks him if he had silvery white hair and red eyes. The man says that if he had not killed that monstrous undead, then they would still be there forever maybe. Rimuru then thinks about him killing one of his own kind and wonders if he opposes to Chris. The man proceeds to tell her that he helped them get out of the burning mansion. Rimuru asks him if he is sure that it really was an undead. The man then tells her that the monster called him an undead. Rimuru indulges in deep thoughts as she thinks about a disaster class undead that is actually helping people. She recalls that in Coastar, he got attacked by a bunch of adventurers, yet he didn't back. On the contrary, he killed the Tarrasque and ended up saving everyone and then simply left. Rimuru wonders that maybe he is not that dangerous after all. She then wonders what she should do if she happens to meet him again. As she thinks about it, she concludes that even if he is not dangerous, he is still an undead, and as a servant of God, she cannot ignore his existence. At the same time, Chris feels something off. As one of her underlings asks him what is the matter, he tells her that Brodia was killed as well. She is shocked to hear that. Chris concludes that it must be the Holy Knight's deed. He says that the thought of two of his generals dying like that didn't cross his mind. At last, he decides to not ignore it any longer and act on his own now. As the huge mansion burnt, Zeon looked at it while standing in the crowd. He had thought that a necromancer would be able to kill him, but that gross thing was not able to give him any valuable information. All he ended up doing was creating a big commotion and thinks that he really shouldn't have used the fire magic inside a mansion. He then decides to not dwell on this and prepares to get going already. As he proceeds to leave, he is ordered to not move by someone. As he slowly turns around, he realizes that it's the girl that he met on the train the other day. She introduces herself as Rimuru, a knight from the Albert Order of Holy Knights. She then proceeds to confirm if he is an undead. Zeon is surprised to see that she is actually a holy knight. Rimuru then tells him that as a holy servant of God, she cannot ignore the existence of something as impure as him and decides to cleanse his soul. As she exclaims, "Hold the holy lance," Zeon surrenders himself happily, thinking that she is really going to kill him. He does not have to look for the necromancer anymore. Rimuru is offended by the behavior of Zeon and tells him not to underestimate them. Rimuru and her comrades attack Zeon with their synchronized purification attack. Zeon is amazed to see the strong light that the purification technique is generating and thinks that he will really be able to die. However, moments later, he realizes that it is not working either. Rimuru is astonished to see that it did not work at all. Rimuru then tries to comprehend it, as he may just be an underling, but he was still able to beat those train robbers in an instant, and the purification did not do anything to him. Rimuru orders everyone to retreat immediately. When one of her comrades asks her what she is going to do, she says that she will stop him so that they can escape. Rimuru was not going to tolerate any objections, so they were left with no other option but to leave. As they all leave, Rimuru asks Zeon if he is really humanity's enemy. Zeon tells her that he is not humanity's enemy. However, she could not hear what Zeon was trying to say and thought that she misjudged him for having nice clothes and all expected him to have about human IQ. She then concludes that he just cannot speak. Zeon felt hurt to hear that. He felt bad and decided to run away. Rimuru asks him to stop running as she still has some questions to ask him. Zeon just runs away quickly while crying about the fact that a girl called him out on his social anxiety weakness. As he was escaping, he felt the presence of an undead. As he looks around, Chris and Zeon encounter each other. Chris wonders if he is the one who previously killed two of his generals.